You can't tell somebody, okay, plan for this. This might happen
Right,
tomorrow. You
right,
can't plan for that. They happen. Here, we've been doing this for 50 years, and I swear that something will happen in the next week that
right.
we've never seen before.
Change is inevitable. Like every success happens because you changed something and you it was a fear that was within you.
Motivation only lasts for a short amount of time, but discipline is what carries you forward.
I can't do this on my own, period.
Are you looking at your business in terms of emotion, or are you looking at your business in terms of what's practical?
I still believe that America is the best country in the world. Where can kid of immigrants with no education become a physician?
This is Small Business Celebration, where we're celebrating small businesses for big breakthroughs.
Welcome to Small Business Celebration. We've got a great episode today. We're going to be talking about funding and how you go through with cash funding. We're also going to be talking about adjusting to trends for your business. And in doing that, we're going to be talking with our guests today, who are Ernie and Rick Montoya, the owners of BSW Roofing, Solar and Air. Welcome to Small Business Celebration.
Thank you,
Michael.
Thanks for having us.
And for Visioneers who don't know who are you and what is it that you do?
I'm Ernie,
And I'm Rick Montoya.
and we're owners of BSW Roofing, Solar and Air. We've been at this particular location since 1973, 71.
It started here in 70 and we got here in 73.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've been here over 50 years.
And where is here?
On the corner of Brundage and P Street in central Bakersfield, lovely central Bakersfield.
93304.
04.
Right.
And the reason I'm talking with these two gentlemen is they did not start the business. They bought it from their father. And when did your father start this business?
He started this business here in, like I said, 1970.
Right.
After he had retired from being a roofing contractor with his brothers
Right.
for 30 some years. He had retired in the mid 60s
Right.
and decided to go back into business. He was bored. And
Okay.
he didn't like sitting at home, and he
Right.
wanted to open up a building material business.
Okay.
Hence the name Bakersfield Shingles Wholesale.
Ah.
BSW for short.
Nice.
That's why the name was called that. And actually, he started for 3-4 years walking from 1905 Brundage, where we were both born,
Right.
and walking down 5 blocks to the corner of Brundage and P Street, where he opened up this business.
But let me add something there. But prior to that,
Yeah.
when he was in high school, he was a sophomore in high school, and they called out his name, and he wasn't on the roster. So he walks out of the class, goes back home, and his brothers, who were in the roofing business at the time,
Yeah.
he was probably 16 or 17. They were needing a hod carrier. Hod is when they carry mud and they
Okay.
put mud up on the
Yeah.
roofs with tile.
Okay.
So he got into that with his brothers.
Because that was back in the 50s, wasn't it?
Oh, no, this
no,
is,
no,
this
this
is in
is
the 20s.
the 20s.
Holy cow.
30s.
Wow.
Yeah, 20.
Okay.
Yeah, 30s.
Yeah.
Back in the day of Adobe houses and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, he was putting the mud up on the Bakersfield Inn,
Right.
where they put the mud with the tile,
Right.
the tops and the pans. That's where he started, and he worked with his brothers for about 10 years before he got his license at 27, and then they worked till 55 when Rick and I came in.
And what did your father do to bring you into the business? Was this one of those kind of things where daycare was on top of somebody's roof?
No, I remember a lot of trips to going to Taft.
Yeah.
Right.
He would take us with him. He taught me how to drive.
Okay.
Driving the truck back, and I think I was only 13 or 14. at the
Sure,
time.
right.
We would go with him on probably estimates, not so much on the roof.
Right.
We didn't get into the commercial side or the industrial side of putting the roof on when we were with him until we actually went into business with him in 1973.
Wow.
1973.
So that was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
51 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were both in college at the time. He was in San Francisco and I was at San Luis Obispo. We were
Right.
both business majors.
Okay.
He had gone through all the ups and downs in business.
Your dad.
Yeah, my dad.
Right.
And so he had the knowledge and we had the youth.
Sure, right?
And so it was perfect, Chris, at the time.
So he could tell you how to do it, and you would be up on the roofs when it was 115 degrees slinging shingles.
Exactly.
Yeah, the
the good old days.
He said something about, I'm going to burn that baby fat off of you.
You want to come in and lose some of that baby fat, is what he said. And that was, and we burned it off quickly. He gave us the dirtiest, filthiest, nastiest jobs that there was.
Right.
I don't think there is a dirtier job than roofing.
Right.
You know, as far as the construction trade, I think it's the hardest one out there.
At what point, Rick, did your father say, boys, it's time for you to buy the business?
That happened in 1989. He was probably in his 70s
Right.
at that point, and my brother and I had decided that we wanted to own the business. So
Why? It's a dirty, hot business. You're scorching in the middle of the summer in Bakersfield. Why on earth would you buy the business? I mean, you got college degrees. You can be comfortable in an office someplace.
you're right, but we had been out of college now for 10 or 15 years. So,
Okay.
So we had learned this business, and we thought that we had perfected to a point where we knew things that we did in our business that was different than other people in our industry.
Like what?
We grew with the business. Back then, the shingles were just basic 3-tab shingles. When I say 3-tab, they were just simple 3-tab flat shingles. We
You use
brought-
square nails to put them down. And all that sort of
just about,
Right.
just a hair above that. But they were just flat shingles. There was no dimension to them. There was no look to them. They were just flat, nasty looking shingles that they had. And then they evolved into shingles that actually had wood grain feature to them.
Right.
Extra tabs, texture to them. They realized that the roof was about 50% of what you see when you drive up to a person's home.
Right.
So they started to make the homes look nicer. We were right in the middle of it, and we thought, hey, these look great. Let's start selling these.
Upselling.
Upsell.
It's called upselling.
Sure, right, yeah.
So we were upselling, and nobody else was doing it. And also, they had metal trim that we introduced to put around the trim of the house. It looked so nice because it would match the fascia boards. It would match the trim. It was a finished look. We also brought in W valleys that were also painted the same. W valleys are in a low portion of the roof. They call it a valley, and so there's a piece of metal that goes in there, and they come in different colors. They come in brown, they come in charcoal, and they come in white.
Right.
So it depends on the shingle that they chose. We were able to upgrade and put a valley in there that matched the shingle and matched the eave metal. So it was things that we brought into the industry that nobody else was doing.
One of the other things that you guys were doing that sets you apart is part of your system and processes of doing things. Because one of the things that was common back when my dad was living here in Bakersfield back in the 50s and 60s is if you called a roofer, they stood out there and they eyeballed it and they gave you an estimate, and that's the way it was. But you guys approached it a little bit differently, and it made you guys stand out.
What a lot of our competitors back in the early days would be a business card with a price written on the backside. That's all you got.
Wow.
No
guarantees, no breakdowns.
Nothing about how the process was going to work. We started with proposals, and we would write down exactly how we're going to take it off, what we're going to do with it, how we're going to put the wood decking back on again.
Right.
We're going to put this type of felt, and we would put the specifics of what type of felt paper we would put down, what type of shingles, how we're going to clean it up afterwards. It was a proposal.
And you just
presentable.
brought up something important. It's how you clean up.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
A customer doesn't know anything about the roofing materials or the products that we're putting on.
And quite frankly, they don't care. They just want to know that it works and how it looks,
Yeah,
right?
but what they do know about is Mrs. Smith knows about her flowers. And she
Oh,
knows
yeah,
she
yeah.
knows every single flower that's a bud and ready to go. They know that their walkways were clean before you got there. They know everything about that house. So it was we used to say we want this home to look nice, neat, pretty, and clean when we walk away. And the guys would clean up everything. They'd hose off the walkways, and it was sparkling when we walked away.
Things are different now than they were back in the late 80s, early 90s. And the materials have changed. We've gone to asphalt and a whole variety of other things. But BSW has also changed. You've gotten, not just with roofing, but you've also got into solar and air. And we're going to talk more about those transitions in the second segment. But the other part of it that's changed and that's going on right now is there's been a significant downsizing in the solar industry, but you guys are taking advantage of it.
Before April 14, 2023, everybody was on NEM 2. And NEM 3, after April 14th, NEM, it's net energy metering.
Okay.
And the price of your kilowatts went up, almost doubled.
Right.
It was harder to pay off your solar system, and solar was harder. Instead of paying it off in a 5-year period or 7-year period, now it's going to take you 10 to 15 years to pay it off. And solar isn't as advantageous as it was before.
Sure.
What we did, because we know that there was over 700 solar companies that came through here.
Right.
They only did solar. We know that there's a lot of orphan systems out there right now.
And what's an orphan system?
An orphan system is a homeowner that has solar on their home,
Yeah.
and the solar company's gone out of business, and they have nobody to go back to.
So they can't maintain it. They can't.
They don't know what to do with that system now. Now that something is wrong with it, the phone number that they call is out of service. So they don't know what to do, and they're not producing any energy now, or they're producing less than what they were a year or two ago, and they don't know what to do.
Okay. And so what do you do?
When they send us out to take a look at it, we'll have our solar technicians check out the system. They'll check out the panels. They'll see what's wrong with it.
Right.
It could be a microinverter. It could be a string inverter.
Right.
It could be a panel go bad.
Okay.
And we'll try to rectify that for them.
Now, one of the things that I've been told is a common problem, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is there is 24 different solar panel manufacturers out there. So I can just imagine the task your technicians have walking into house after house after house, and no two systems are the same.
That's correct.
Right.
How do you deal with that?
We have an engineer, his name is Curtis Neal,
Okay.
and he's been in the solar business for approximately 25 years. If Curtis doesn't know about it, it doesn't exist.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
I mean, that's exactly what it is. He knows solar panels, he knows products, he knows things from 25 years ago that nobody else knows. So Curtis goes into the situation, and first of all, he gets their PG&E bill to find out exactly what they're using. And then he monitors their system to see exactly what they're producing. He checks the panels to see what size panels they were, to see if it's sufficient enough. And if there's some dead ones, he will see that and he'll know that, and that's why they're not producing as much electricity.
So he'll be able to take the panels that you guys provide and integrate it with their existing system and
There
figure
might
out
be-
the engineering with it.
It's like aftermarket products.
Okay.
You have to find aftermarket products that possibly the manufacturer of the system that was put on 15 years ago, they're not even in business anymore.
And if you're looking to not just replace your panels, but also replace your house, might I suggest you talk to Mike Saba, Zillow Premier Agent with Watson Realty, born, raised, and never left Bakersfield. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. He is also the sponsor of our first Visioneer question. Are you ready?
No.
Let's be honest here. And Visioneer Javier asks, we've been told to pay cash for everything related to our business. But what processes do you take to save the money you need for funding big expenses like trucks, vans, and buildings?
You want me to take that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Cash is king.
Right.
There's no doubt about it.
Nobody
Cash
disagrees
flow-
with Benjamin Franklin.
Exactly.
No doubt about it. Cash is the bloodline of all businesses.
Right.
You try to keep as much cash as you can because you don't know when you're going to have an ebb and flow.
Right.
Paying for anything you can cash saves you all that interest money, which is great.
Right.
But on large purchases like vehicles, property, it's kind of hard to, write a check for $65,000 or
More.
$300,000.
Right.
In that regard, you obviously have to have financing for it. Now, the key is to get that monkey off your back as fast as possible. If you're making money,
Right.
and don't put it in your pocket, put it back towards paying off those so that you pay those off early.
So you're looking for loans that are simple interest loans versus ones that are compound interest so that you can pay them off without penalty.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
Now, I had early in business, because we were Bakersfield Shingles Wholesale.
Right.
We were strictly a material house at one point.
Right.
When my dad started. And then when we evolved into going back into roofing contracting, we were still a material warehouse. And one of the larger manufacturers that we distributed for, he told me something that I'll always remember, because back then, whenever you paid your bill off before the 30th of the month, on the 10th of the month actually,
Right.
you would get a 2% discount. And since then, all industries have shrunk that down to 1%.
Right.
But the key is that's money that if you pay it 10, 15 days later, you've lost
Right.
by not paying it on the 10th of the month. So that is one little key
Right.
that you should take advantage of every month. And at the end of the year, in which I do most of the bookkeeping for the
Right,
company,
sure.
I love looking at that number and saying, you know what? This is what we save with all of our manufacturers during the year by taking that 2% discount.
Right.
And it can be a sizable amount of money.
Sure.
And that's money that you can put in your pocket because you were regimented enough to take that 2 or 1% discount when it was offered to you.
Right.
I know it's tough, and I know that a lot of business owners will say, yeah, but I just didn't have it. Well, if you don't have it, you don't have it.
Right.
But when you do have it, take advantage of it, and hopefully you can do it again and again and again.
And that brings us to the Visioneer Game, which is brought to you by Mint Health of Bakersfield. Get personalized healthcare that is affordable, membership-based primary care for one low price. Call Mint Health Clinics of Bakersfield at 661-384-8550 or visit them at minthcbakersfield.com today. Visioneers, if you're not familiar with the way the Visioneer game works, I have a random word generator here on my phone, and I have no idea what the words that are going to be generated are. More importantly, neither do they. And what they have to do is take each one of 3 words and somehow associate it with their business. Now, remember, the weight of the universe is on your shoulders. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, our first word is hour. H-O-U-R. Hour.
Our guys work by the hour.
Very good. Score 1. Well done.
All right.
Good for you.
Hey, that wasn't that bad.
All right, your second word is bronze.
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 We have systems that we have golden pledges, we have bronze pledges, we have silver pledges. These are pledges that GAF has that we use to upgrade, like I said, upsell with warranties from the manufacturers.
So you can get a 20-year roof, a full 30-year,
Right.
50-year roof.
And it's guaranteed by the manufacturer.
Very good. Well done. Your third question. Veil.
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 Veil. My wife, when we got married, wore a white veil.
But did
40
she
years.
wear it for your business?
Yeah, when she was in the business here. We got married here in the business. I can tell you that.
Does she know that?
I'll tell her that tonight.
Oh, by the way, honey.
In case Michael asks.
Or anybody else in Visioneer Nation, I didn't know you guys got married in your business. Oh yeah, it was a grand affair.
You got that one, huh?
Well, that's part of the fun of business ownership because things happen that come out of the blue. Like for example, off camera, you were telling me once, people go through and unfortunately they lose their dog.
Mhm.
And they put up a sign on the post that says lost dog. You guys had something kind of similar to that, didn't you?
It wasn't a lost dog, but it was. We actually, one of our project managers went out to an apartment complex.
Uh-huh.
It was in a gated community, and so he was up on top and he was measuring and doing
Measuring the roof.
measuring the roof,
Right, yeah.
looking at the pipes and the ACs, and he was
Doing an
taking
estimate, right?
pictures, and he was doing all of this stuff.
Right.
And there were a couple kids swimming in the pool because it was a community pool in
Apartment
the area.
complex.
It was an apartment complex. So the kids were swimming in the pool, and Evan was taking care of everything, and he puts his ladder down, and he comes back to his truck, and his laptop is gone.
Oh no.
His wallet is gone.
Oh no.
His computer is gone. Everything, they'd taken everything. He came back and he said, "I feel so stupid." He goes, I have no idea what happened. These kids were in the pool, and when I got down, they were out of the pool, and they took everything out of my truck. I left the truck wide open.
Oh no.
I said, "Okay, so let's do this." I said, "Let's put up a sign like they would for a lost dog."
Right.
I said, "Let's put up a sign on the couple of telephone poles around the area, and we'll give a $100 reward as to if anybody knows or can lead us to the
Whereabouts.
because his wallet had money.
Oh,
It
wow.
was more than the money. It was his cards and everything else in the wallet,
Right.
plus our laptop and all the information on it.
Right.
So we put up a sign that said we were offering $100 for the recoup of whatever we had lost. And so, and I said, and Evan, make sure you put a phone number on there so they can call and make sure that we get it back. So he gets a phone call after about 2 or 3 days. He gets a phone call, and this guy says, "Are you the one looking for the laptop?"
Right.
Yeah. He goes, "I think I know where the laptop is." He goes, "But I don't know where the other stuff is, but I know where the laptop is." So Evan makes an appointment. They meet out there, and there's when they meet out there, Evan is in the complex, and the gentleman comes up from an alley, and there's like a block wall that's maybe 4 foot high.
Mm-hmm.
So the gentleman, he waves Evan down. He goes, "Hey, are you the one who lost the laptop?" And Evan goes, "Yeah." He goes, "And you got the $100 cash?" And he goes, "I think I might." And Evan goes, "Yeah, I got it." And he goes, "I think I might know who has it." He said, "But let me see that $100. Do you have it with you?" And Evan goes, "Yeah." So he opens up his wallet and he shows the guy the $100, and the guy was within as close as you are to me.
Right.
Reaching
And
distance.
he grabbed that thing and he took off running.
Snatched it out of his hand.
Snatched it right out of his hands. Evan ran.
Oh no.
Evan ran after him. I mean, he must have chased him for at least a mile before he blew his hamstring out.
Oh no.
So the kid, so they got the laptop, they got all his wallet, everything, and the $100.
Oh no.
So it was crazy.
And
It
so
was
the moral of the story with this is
lock your vehicle when you get out.
We've got lots of those stories. I mean, when you're in business and you can't tell somebody, okay, plan for this. This might happen tomorrow.
Right.
You can't plan for that. They happen. Here, we've been doing this for 50 years, and I swear that something will happen in the next week that
Right.
we've never seen before.
Right.
It's never happened before, but we'll have to deal with it.
Right.
And that's part of being in business
Right.
is landing on your feet and taking care of that customer, whatever it is that happens.
Right. And that brings us to our next Visioneer question, which is brought to you by Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier agent with Watson Realty, selling Bakersfield homes since 1992. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. Visioneer Teresa asks, how do you decide the timing of which additional trends to expand into that may be loosely related to the business you're in?
Excellent question, Teresa.
Because you guys have had personal
Yeah.
experience with it.
Okay. Okay, let's go back to where roughly around 12 years ago is when we got into solar. Solar had been around for 5 or 10 years before that.
Right.
Not much, but it was getting more and more popular.
Mm-hmm.
We being a roofing material house and a contractor, we have a yard across the street
Right.
where we store most of our materials that we purchase. We
Mm.
generally buy all of our materials in truck and trailer lots
Mm-hmm.
so that we can have it available when we need it. Well, we also have a lot of tile products because we did thousands of tile roofs for general contractors, new construction over the years. So we have a yard where we have extra portions of tile.
Right.
When solar companies would come in and want to buy some of that tile,
Ah.
because they were breaking tile as they were putting the solar panels on, we would be the person to sell them tile. We still are to this day the biggest supplier of used or portional solar tiles for solar companies now. But as time went on, we'd say, hey, we're selling a lot of tile. And the other roofing distributors in town could not sell tile because they only sold it to people that wanted to buy that whole truckload of tile. They sent it directly out to a job site. They didn't have any inventory. We had inventory because we put roofs on. So we had pallets and pallets of partial pallets of tile. So we probably had across the street, and we still have, probably 200, 300 different colors of tile, different patterns of tile that we had put on other houses.
So you knew the time to get into the solar business is when you had a number of solar companies coming to you asking for pieces and parcels of tile, and you say, you know what? Now's the time.
Right.
Now's the time to jump.
Now is the time because we could see that their problem is what we do for a living.
Ah.
Their biggest problem, and it is the biggest problem in solar, is leaks.
Mm.
The number one problem
Right.
with solar panels on anybody's house
Right.
is leakage. And those people that were putting on the solar panels, even if they were found to make the leaks, a lot of them denied it.
Right.
And they would say, no, that was already there.
And
or
that's
"No."
how a lot of attorneys made a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So we took that as this is the industry that we should be in. And at that time, when the stars were aligning, GAF was asking about, would you like to be involved with solar? We know that solar is here to stay. We will train you. We will teach you. We will show you how to install, where to install, why to install, and show you the good side of solar, not the bad side.
Also, at the same time, what we also did is we brought the guys that were getting older on the actual craftsmen.
Mhm.
We actually brought them into the office, and we trained them as salesmen. So who knows better to put on a roof than a roofer?
Right.
And who knows more about the lingo, and who knows better to talk about the products than a roofer? So we made them salespeople. We brought them into roof. They knew roofing. Now we had to teach them solar, and it was easy. And it was easy because they knew exactly how to put the solar panels on without having any leaks, and they knew exactly what tiles to use because they'd been using them for years before that. So it was a perfect marriage for us.
We actually have jobs on the board to do today that are for solar companies that have left California that have the calls that their roofs are leaking, but they don't want to come back to California. They don't have anybody here anymore, but they are responsible for the leakage. So they call us and we go out and we have to remove their solar systems, find the problems that are underneath them, which is the broken tiles or the flashings that were put on incorrectly, fix those, put their systems on, and they pay us.
And can I add something? 45,000 customers can't be wrong. We have
45,000.
45,000.
It's probably
customers.
above that now.
It's,
but
it's above that now.
That was our
that's
last
not,
advertisement.
that's not even
That's
counting
more
commercial.
That's more than 10% of the population.
We've done roofs on
A
every
lot of
street in town.
repeats. A lot of repeats.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been fun. It's been a fun ride. It really has been.
You mentioned that you're dealing with solar companies that have left California. And without getting into all the politics on it, the question I ask is the American dream dead?
No.
No.
Why not?
It's because you can. We have guys that have worked for us for years, and I'm talking over the years, over the 50 years. We brought guys in, and they worked as laborers for us, removal crews. We brought them onto the roof, and they actually did the shingle, and they actually did the wood removal and replacement. Turn them into carpenters. Those guys have then moved away and opened up their own business, and they've started on a small scale. And how many guys have done that? I mean, probably
most of them.
10 or 15 guys.
Most have worked for us at one time or
Yeah,
another.
the roofing companies that are out there today work for us at one time or another. Most, I would say, 90% of them have worked for us. Started here.
To say that the dream is dead, no. But I will say you have to work harder. You cannot rest on your laurels. And I know that it's a struggle and you're underwater, but if you keep your quality up and don't go for the low bid, that was an old saying in roofing. It was a cartoon of a guy with, and he's got overall rags on,
right,
and he's got his feet up on the table. He goes, "I can't believe I was always low bid," and that's just it. You cannot stay in business by being the low bid. You've got to show quality, and once you've held your breath and you have taught your customers that you stand for quality, you don't stand for being the cheapest. People want to pay more as long as they understand that they're getting their money's worth. You don't have to be the cheapest. You just need to be the best.
Ernie, Rick, thank you so much for joining us here on Small Business Celebration. This has been a real treat.
And thank you for inviting us.
We had a great time.
It's been fun.
And if Visioneers want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Well, they can call us at area code 661-327-7663. That's 327-ROOF.
You've had that number for a minute.
About 2 weeks, actually.
Sounds good. And website?
And the website is bswroofing.com.
Social media?
Social media, all of the social media.
Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram,
all the platforms.
all the platforms
that are out there. We got them all.
And if you enjoy Small Business Celebration, go ahead and like, subscribe, notify, and leave a comment. Say something nice about both Ernie and Rick. I'm sure we will let them know what those comments are. And we'll be right back with our final thought. Here's, guess what? We have a blog. Yes, I know we have finally entered into the 20th century. You can find it at smallbusinesscelebration.com/blog, where you can get more detailed information about these episodes, more insight, and more teasers of the other guests. So go ahead and check us out at smallbusinesscelebration.com/blog today. Will is a powerful thing. Admittedly, this past week was really tough. It was back-to-back-to-back 20-hour days, lots and lots of driving, and I was thoroughly beaten and tired. And that's when a fellow Visioneer friend of mine came up to me and said, "Michael, will is a powerful thing. The world is full of very capable people. After all, there are plenty of people that are capable of running a marathon. But do they? There are plenty of people that are capable of climbing Mount Everest. But do they? there are also plenty of people who are capable of getting into work before everybody else does, or more importantly, doing that one thing, just one singular, solitary thing that makes them stand out around all the rest of their competition. But do they? So as you're going through your week and you're starting to have those long days like many of us have had, or I had this past week, remember, will is a powerful thing. It's not what you're capable of. It's what you're willing to do, to have, to do, to become the person you want to be. Will is a powerful thing. I hope you enjoyed our conversation this week with Ernie and Rick Montoya, the owners of BSW Roofing, and I hope you learned something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business. And we'll see you here again next week when we celebrate another small business making a big breakthrough. By the way, what does the Colorado River have in common with roofers?
It's long and lazy.
Good, close. Yeah?
They have a lot of rafters.
They do! Score one! Good for you! See, rock and roll.
Now I know you got that rafter from. Now I know you got that rafter.
Why don't a lot of people have their barbecues up on the roof?
This guy's this. Let's see.
You read my questions, didn't you? The stakes are too high.
The stakes are too high. I knew there were stakes in there, but I couldn't remember the last
as long
part
as
of
they're
it.
medium, right? You don't want them rare. Or charcoal, I don't know. I had my grandfather that was that way. He loved his charcoal. Anyway, shall we start?
Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
Welcome to Small Business Celebration.